Welcome back to Learning Matters. I'm Doug Wooldridge, your host, and today I'm very excited to chat with our guest. She's got 15 years experience in human capital management, talent strategy, and process improvement. She's won multiple awards for excellence in HR leadership, and she's learning director at US Bank. Dasha Crosby, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Doug, for having me. That intro gave me the boost that I needed today.
All right.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, today we're going to go over some of the biggest questions and most exciting changes in the world of learning and development. So I'd like to start with this. What strategy matters most in learning and development today?
It's a tale as old as time. You have to understand the pain points that your learners have to
Definitely
develop a solid strategy. And it's any strategy. It's not just learning. It's any business strategy, any strategy as an entrepreneur, or whether you work in a corporate setting, understanding what barrier points, what's preventing someone from accessing and using the product that you put out, right? And also understanding what's preventing someone from seeing the value in the product that you put out. So understanding your customer pain points, your learner pain points is critical to developing a really solid strategy, in addition to understanding the root cause of those pain points, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of the times we hear, well, I just don't have time. It's like, I don't have time to learn. It's too many priorities. Well, why do you have so many priorities? Well, the administration at my school is telling me this, or my manager and executives are telling me this. Okay, why are your managers telling you that these are the priorities? And how are you working with your team to set expectations with your leaders, set expectations with the people who you are privileged to lead, and prioritize this and see the value in it, right? So those are some of the most critical parts of strategy and developing strategy and learning. But most importantly, it's critical for us as learning professionals to stay on the cutting edge of everything in our industry and continue to upskill ourselves and lean into technology. I always say I'm a lifelong learner. Most people who I know in the learning space are lifelong learners. We just love it. We can sit in a classroom, sit and watch micro learnings. It's just what we love to do. So continuing to upskill ourselves is critical as well.
Definitely. And has that strategy always kind of been at the forefront of your mind, of the love for learning, or was there like an aha moment that led you to this, having that be the most important part of your strategy?
Yeah, it's a great question. I'd say that hasn't always been a part of my strategy early on. And I learned this lesson the hard way. You go into discussions and you understand the value and you believe in it, and you just automatically expect somebody else to, right? So it's like, of course, this is amazing. I think it's amazing. You should think it's amazing too. And you should see how it helps you, right? But communicating in a way that the person on the other end understands is critical. So not communicating in the way that I want to be communicated to, but being able to articulate this strategy, articulate the value of learning in a way that resonates with the audience and the person you're influencing. So in my space, like with business partners, they want to understand, how is it going to impact their strategy? They want to understand how is it going to, and continue to improve employee engagement. And, of course, how is it going to influence revenue generating activities? So it's really important to communicate in the way that others communicate to get that strategy across, and understanding learning is not a check the box activity. So
I love that.
It's not, we did it, check, we have our list and we knocked it out, which is very common, right? You have to be in compliance. We all have people we answer to, right? Sure. And so just understanding that was a big aha moment, that, learning is not something that you just go in and say you did. It is a journey, and it is a process, and it is something that continuously keeps you on the cutting edge of innovation. It keeps you, if you maintain that curiosity mindset, there's nothing but growth there, and really being able to ask how might we versus we should do this is a lot. Those are the aha moments that I've had, and again, lessons learned hard.
Yeah. I think just the ability to step into the learner's shoes for 5 minutes while on the process of doing just the initial analysis side of things just allows you to be like, okay, well, I know we're starting here, but our endpoint is the learner. So how can we make sure that they have success in learning? And are there any best practices that you try to focus on while thinking of the learner during those analysis and design phases?
Absolutely. And that's another piece that a lot of folks don't understand is there are phases to how we create learning experiences. And I can't tell you how many times, folks come to you like, oh, I can do learning. I can do that. I'll go in front of a class and teach them how to do this. But there's so much information that we have now, and research that we have available to us now that says, lecturing is not the best way that a lot of people learn. A lot of people learn from experience and exposure to different content, and exposure and experience to different ideas, right? And so education being a critical part, but being that, a smaller part of how we learn, and then understanding that there's a whole army of people who are experts in this field that are there to help you create that experience, right?
Yeah.
And not all of us are experts in everything. I like public speaking. Can I facilitate? I can, but I prefer to
Yeah.
lean on my peers, right? Who are really great at that. I love the consulting space. And we also have instructional designers that are on the cutting edge of technologies and platforms. And those folks they're important and critical to creating learning experiences across the industry. So just even being able to help someone understand there's a whole army of us and we have so many different skill sets, but we're working together to create a really impactful experience for you as the learner or for your team, right? If you're looking to upskill your team.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about how the community aspect of the learning and development field is so important to getting to that point of where the learner is actually taking in something, having an incredible experience, and enjoying it, and sees the true value in them taking the time out of their day to learn something new. So, how do you measure success and demonstrate the ROI to stakeholders, and not just like the C-suite folks, but the learners as well, for them to have full buy-in to the time that they have to develop, or the time that they have to spend working on this training, or the amount of money for the C-suite folks to put forth to make this training happen?
ROI is such a huge question, right? And being able to communicate, like, what is the return on the investment that I'm making in our learning partners? What am I getting back from this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's an important question. We have to answer it. The most important thing in communicating ROI is starting with the first question you asked, and that strategy, and being able to say, this is what we've set out to do. Here's how it's aligned to your business and speaking your language, right? And here's what we plan to measure as a part of the activities or the solutions that we bring to you. And this is critical in the strategy, as well as is being able to say we need access to that data to let us know if we are moving the needle. And in order for us to be successful and co-create this phenomenal strategy to enable you, and that's what we're here for, is to enable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Enable our business. Being able to say, what barrier points do we have to access that data? And let's talk about how we remove those barrier points, and talk about what partnerships do we need to make sure that they're clear too, that in order for us to show you ROI, we have to understand the data. We have to have strong data analytics. And that's
Yes.
another arm of learning that we have is data analytics and program evaluation. So that's critical to being able to communicate and share ROI.
Well, that's the beauty of living in 2025, is that you have so many options now of data points that you can gain while the learners are going through the learning, why waste any of that? You have to take every piece of that data and try to make something out of it so that you can showcase these are the points that we can do better at, or these are the things that we're excelling at.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will play in data all day. It's a skill set. Like even being able to story tell with data is a skill set,
Yeah.
right? And understanding how do you put, in Brene Brown's words, like the soul behind the data? How do you bring in more of the stories and put a face to the data is really important as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With that in mind, are there any top trends that you're focusing on here in the future for our industry?
Yeah. So, of course, AI is revolutionizing
Oh,
every
yeah.
industry. And, the thing that I think about the most is how is it going to improve and enhance the speed in which we can get content to people, the accuracy in which maybe we can personalize the content more so that as a learner, when I'm accessing this information, it's saying my name and saying, these are the skills that we're about to work on today. I mean, I have apps for, exercise and, it's replacing personal trainers, right? Because I can just go on an app and it's like, hello, and here are your goals based on all of the health information that you've provided. But so I'm really looking forward to seeing how AI is enhancing that experience in terms of speed to market, personalization and content, and thinking about it in a way of possibilities versus fear. Because there is a very genuine fear, right? That these things are going to happen and my job will not exist anymore. And I think the way I've reframed it is these things are happening and my job will be better because I won't have to do the things that are administrative or the things that would normally take me 5 hours, I can do in 5 minutes because now I can really focus on data analytics, or now I can really focus on creating a really strong strategy. And so I look at AI as a personal assistant. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's where it's at its strongest.
Absolutely.
Making
Yeah.
sure that we're keeping on tabs of things that sometimes get put to the back burner, and then also taking those things and taking care of them for us.
And I have lots of tasks that it can take in my personal life. Just create my grocery list, go pick up, do the logistics for the week with all the kids. So I have a whole list of things that I can have AI do.
Definitely. And what about things like VR and AR? Have you had any chance to play around with those?
Yeah. So I'll tell you that is something that I would love to heavily invest in. And I think about it, the immersive experience, the immersive learning experiences that it offers, and just how, in a global economy, we do have the possibility of immersing ourselves in a culture, maybe before we visit it, maybe before we consider, having our business as a part of that culture. Like we can go and immerse ourselves in it, understand communication styles, understand, business norms, and just not even from a business perspective, just even as a better human, right? Like if I want to understand the lived experience of someone else, I can put on, these pretty cool goggles, or, I'm downplaying it, but I can put this on and really understand how someone who doesn't look like me or who doesn't come from where I come from experiences the world. And that is, I mean, it's mind blowing. It gives me goosebumps just thinking about it right now. And yeah, I think my husband would be on board too in making that investment, because he's gone to the Apple store and he's come home like mind blown. Like, I did this and it felt so real. And it's really amazing what we'll be able to do from the comfort of our own home or our office, and what we'll be able to learn.
Definitely. And do you see any challenges that we have in this community kind of embracing these emerging trends?
Yeah, for sure. The fear, right?
Yeah.
I think, and I mean, we've seen this we've seen the technology revolution, industrial revolution, and we've seen, we've been either our parents or grandparents have been a part of some extraordinary revolution in how we do work.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always that fear that somehow I will be eliminated in this
Yeah.
transformation. And so just being able to lean into that fear and again embrace that curiosity mindset and ask ourselves, how might we, and what are the possibilities, versus I'm going to resist this thing until it's no longer an option. And
Yeah.
then we get left behind. And so you think about some of the big companies that, like a Blockbuster, right? That, they were on the cutting edge. I used to
Yep.
go to Blockbuster every weekend and pick
Loved
out a
it.
movie. It was the highlight of my weekend. And then all of
Mm-hmm.
a sudden, we're getting these little DVDs emailed to our house through
Mm-hmm.
Netflix or mailed to our house. So um, there's so many examples of why we need to embrace possibilities and ask ourselves how we can constantly improve and rely on new technology. There's an amazing book called Unmasking AI, and is by Joy Balamwini, and she calls herself a poet of code, and I love that. But she just really dives into making sure that we understand why the human aspect is so important in a world of machines, and she does it much more justice than I do. So educating ourselves again, why learning matters, is educating ourselves on what these things are, right? And not relying on other sources to tell us, like, embrace your own brain and go and find out what these things are on your own, research them, use your ability to critical think and really lean in to say, yes, my role or, my position may change, and I'm ready for it, and I'm open to it,
Yeah.
and I'm going to use this to help get my kids ahead of the game and get my nieces and nephews ahead of the game, because things will change for them too.
Oh
So
yeah.
just, yeah, leaning
I want to
into
go
that.
back and talk a little bit about accessibility as a whole. Something that you've mentioned a couple times. How do we make sure that while we're developing learning programs, no matter how big or small, that accessibility is at the forefront of our minds?
It's a great question. And it's something that you would think is just everyone has access. Whenever you're creating something, you're like, of course, when I
Sure.
put this out, everyone's going to have access. Everyone's going to come to it. And, again, any industry or any industry we're supporting, whether it's in a corporate space or, education, higher education, you're just going to assume that when you put it out there, they will come. And I love the saying. And there's opportunity for us to think about, what are some of the barriers again that people may have, and it could be, maybe there's a visual or hearing barrier, right? And so how
Yep.
do we make sure that we're including things that, no matter how no matter how we learn, that it is accessible in a way that if I am hearing impaired, I have the tools to still access this and get the value that I need from this content.
Hmm.
Environment is very important too. So when we think about access and environment, are there environmental barriers to learning programs and content? Again, whether you're, sitting in an office space, maybe I've had people share with me that there's too much happening around me, and I
Yeah.
cannot focus on this piece. And so even being able to consider, do you need to have dedicated spaces in an office setting where people are going in a quiet room and they're able to focus and dedicate time to their own development, which is giving you an investment and a return on your investment as
Hmm.
an organization. So access is so important, and it's like that thing sometimes that we miss is, it's great, I love that we built it, but what are some of the things that would prevent someone, right, to being able to use this
Yeah.
and prevent our whole audience, not just one, demographic of our audience, but think about, all the different, ways people learn, all the different ways we were created, right? So, and all the, so just taking advantage of curiosity again, and just asking ourselves, how can we make sure the right access is there for people to learn is important.
Definitely. And I think that just makes better training overall. Having inclusive training gives us the ability to play in worlds that we're not necessarily used to, and embracing other cultures that we're not necessarily used to. So, yeah, I'd like to get into some more personal side of things. So
Yeah.
tell me about you. Take me back to little Dasha days. What led you to become the learning director at US Bank?
Yeah, well, this is I love talking about my hometown. So I love this question. So born and raised in Akron, Ohio, Northeast Ohio, which is near Cleveland. And
Shout out LeBron James.
shout out LeBron James and shout out the whole James family. So that very much shaped who I am today. And, Northeast Ohio, Michigan area, it's very much focused on the auto industry. So
Yeah.
you're thinking like, tires, cars, just really hardworking people, and just the most down to earth, so I say that to say, my upbringing and the area that I grew up in gave me a really beautiful view of the world, and not just, one part of the world, but my family represents the majority of the world.
Yeah.
And so being able to see life even as a multicultural family, right? So I am both. I'm black. I'm white. I'm Filipino. There's so many different cultures just mixed up in my family, and even being able to see the differences in cultures. And I say this all the time. It helps me relate to people. It gives me an advantage because everyone I meet literally looks like they could be in my family. So I automatically have just this strong sense of familiarity, right? When I meet people and talk to people, and it gave me an advantage to be able to relate to people in a way that helps them, that helps me, gives me a lot of joy, and sitting in spaces where, I can be in a group of executives, or I can be sitting with a group of call center agents, and it's all the same. Like I mean, I am who I am no matter what setting you put me in.
Yeah.
And I treat people the way that they want to be treated, not how I think they should be treated. But the most important thing is that got me to where I am today. And prioritizing education. So my grandparents had a strong influence. My grandmothers had a strong influence on my life growing up. And, I often think about the things that not just them, but my parents, my aunts and uncles didn't have access to. And the things that I am privileged to have access to, it feels like I have to do it because there's so many things, so many talents and skills that the women in my life had, but didn't have access to showcase them, and access to make the amount of money that they deserve to make because of those skills. So I just feel like every time I get to, meet people like you, Doug, and come on podcasts like these and go to work every day, I am paying homage to them, and just, trying to be a good person, and just, spread as much knowledge as I can about myself, about learning and the importance of education, because that's exactly what they would want me to do.
I think that's beautiful. What got you into education in the first place?
Yeah, so I always say I was born and raised in mortgage. So I started my career in the mortgage space. And, I think a lot of folks, when they come into learning, it's because they get really good at something, and then someone asks them to train other people to do it. So that was my introduction. And I was fortunate to have an opportunity to do that and relocate from Ohio to Texas to do that. And it was an amazing opportunity to be able to watch people pick up on a new skill and like be excited about it. But the thing that really got me going was seeing people's career grow.
Yeah.
And and I'm like, wow, like we taught them something and they got really good at it, continued to ask us questions on how they could get better at it. And now they're, an executive, right? And so just being able to say you had a hand or a piece in someone's career and their ability to grow, that is what really drives me. And that's what got me into education, minus the fact I love learn. I love to be a learner. So yeah.
It's a perfect marriage.
It's perfect.
Wonderful. Well, before I get you out of here, I got to ask one last question, which is my favorite question. If you could go back in time and chat with yourself just coming out of college, what advice would you give to yourself? Not really what advice would you give to the younger generation, but what advice would you give to young Dasha?
Yeah. Oh, I love that question. I think the thing I would tell myself first is everything will work out. And
Yeah.
coming out of college, I actually had my firstborn in college, and so I spent so much time thinking about our future that I didn't spend as much time in the present as I wish I would have, and I'm trying my best to make that up. And also, I would tell myself it's gonna actually work out very well. So just being able to reassure myself that and would be perfect, and also spend as much time with the people that you love, family, friends. I can't tell you how many times, Doug, I've been a part of, teams, whether it was, internal, external teams, and life changes so fast for people, and you just never know, what will happen. And so being able to spend time with the people that you love and spend time with doing the things that you love is going to be so important. And sometimes I think we get in our careers and we unconsciously prioritize the wrong things. And just, I would tell myself, keep an eye out for that and do the things you love and spend most of your time with the people that you love.
100% agree.
Yeah.
Well, before we close this up today, how can people reach out to you?
I am on LinkedIn, so it's the best way to reach out to me, the best way to get in touch with me. Dasha Crosby. I might be the only Dasha Crosby. I don't know. I haven't looked it up, but
we'll have the link in the description.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And I love to connect with people. When you do reach out, if you don't get a reply within a couple days, do not worry. I try my best to keep up, but the more I can support others, the better.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been an incredible conversation. So I really appreciate you coming on the show with us today, Dasha.
Thank you for having me, Doug. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, listeners. If you learned something today or if you had a laugh, tell somebody about the show for us. Thanks again, Dasha.
Awesome. Thanks.
This has been another episode of Learning Matters. As always, like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and don't hesitate to reach out to us here at TTC Innovations to learn more about how we can help you with your custom training needs. See you next time.